The blinking cursor on the screen mocked me, a digital taunt in the sterile silence of my home office. Cillian, a 43-year-old IT specialist, had always prided myself on my logic, my ability to dissect problems and find solutions. But this was a problem I couldn't debug. It was messy, emotional, and utterly devastating. It started subtly, like a low hum beneath the surface of our lives. Elowen, my wife of 15 years, had become distant. We lived in a quiet suburb of Denver, Colorado, a place where life was supposed to be predictable, comfortable. We had a nice house, a couple of cars, and a life that on paper looked perfect. But the hum was growing louder, resonating with a frequency that set my teeth on edge. Elowen, who worked as a marketing manager for a local firm, had always been vibrant, outgoing. But lately, her energy seemed misplaced. She was always on her phone, giggling at messages I couldn't see, rushing out with vague excuses about girls' nights and work events. I tried to brush it off, attributing it to stress, to the pressures of her job. But the unease lingered, a knot tightening in my stomach. Then came the trip to Vegas. A girl's trip, she called it. A chance to unwind, to let loose with her friends. I encouraged her to go, genuinely believing she needed a break. Looking back, I feel like such a fool. The first few days were filled with the usual texts and photos. Elowen and her friends, clinking glasses by the pool, posing in front of the Bellagio fountains, looking carefree and happy. I smiled, relieved that she was enjoying herself. But then the messages became less frequent, the photos less genuine. The smiles seemed forced, the poses unnatural. It was a Tuesday evening when I stumbled upon the truth. I was scrolling through Facebook, aimlessly killing time, when I saw a photo posted by one of Elowen's friends, Braun. It was a group shot, Elowen and three other women, all dressed to the nines, standing in front of a swanky nightclub. But it wasn't the photo itself that caught my attention. It was the caption. Vegas nights with my favorite girls and a few surprise guests. My blood ran cold. Surprise guests. I zoomed in on the photo, scanning the background. And then I saw him. A man standing slightly behind Elowen, his arm casually draped around her waist. His face was partially obscured, but I recognized the expensive watch, the tailored suit. It was Reese, a colleague of Elowen's, a man I had always disliked, a man who had always made me feel inadequate. The world seemed to tilt on its axis. My breath hitched in my throat. I stared at the photo, my mind refusing to accept what my eyes were seeing. It had to be a mistake, a coincidence. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. I clicked on Reese's profile, my hands shaking. And there it was. A photo posted just hours earlier of him standing in front of the same nightclub, the Bellagio fountains twinkling in the background. The caption read, "Sin City Adventurous." Pieces clicked into place with a sickening finality. The girl's trip was a lie. Elowen was in Vegas with Reese, and they were together. In every sense of the word, a wave of nausea washed over me. I stumbled to the bathroom, my stomach churning. I vomited, emptying the contents of my stomach into the toilet. When I finally regained my composure, I looked at myself in the mirror. A stranger stared back at me, his eyes wide with shock, his face pale and drawn. I spent the rest of the night in a daze, pacing the floor, replaying the events of the past few weeks in my mind. Every missed call, every vague excuse, every stolen glance, it all made sense now. I had been so blind, so trusting, and Elowen had been so deceitful. Morning, the shock had given way to a burning rage. I felt like a volcano, simmering with molten fury, ready to erupt. I called Elowen, my voice trembling. "How's Vegas?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "It's great," she chirped, her voice bright and cheerful. "We're having so much fun, really," I said, my voice hardening. "Having fun with Reese." There was a long silence, then a nervous laugh. "What are you talking about? Don't play dumb, Elowen," I said, my voice rising. "I saw the photos. I know everything." I could hear her breathing rapidly on the other end of the line. "Cillian, I want you to come home," I said, cutting her off. "I want you to pack your bags and get on the first flight back to Denver. And then we're going to talk." She arrived home late that night, her face pale, her eyes red and swollen. She looked like a ghost of the woman I had married. I stood in the doorway, my arms crossed, my expression grim. "Cillian," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "I'm so sorry, sorry." I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Is that all you have to say? You lied to me, you cheated on me, you betrayed my trust. and all you can say is sorry." She burst into tears, sobbing uncontrollably. "I don't know what happened," she wailed. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far, it just happened," I repeated, my voice incredulous. "You just happened to sleep with another man. You just happened to lie to my face for weeks. You just happened to destroy our marriage." She sank to her knees, clutching my legs. "Please, Cillian," she begged. "Give me another chance. I promise it will never happen again." I looked down at her, my heart aching. A part of me wanted to believe her, to forgive her, to pretend that none of this had ever happened. But another part of me, a stronger, more rational part, knew that I couldn't. The trust was broken, the damage irreparable. "I can't, Elowen," I said, my voice firm. "I can't forgive you. I can't forget what you've done." Her face crumpled. "So, it's over?" "Yes," I said. "It's over." The next few weeks were a blur of lawyers, paperwork, and tearful phone calls. Elowen moved out, taking with her a lifetime of memories, a lifetime of shared experiences. The house felt empty, silent. I wandered through the rooms, feeling like a ghost in my own home. I told my friends and family what had happened, bracing myself for their judgment, their pity. But to my surprise, they were supportive, understanding. They rallied around me, offering comfort, advice, and a shoulder to cry on. My best friend, Jasper, was particularly helpful. He had gone through a similar experience a few years earlier and knew exactly what I was going through. He encouraged me to focus on myself, to rediscover my passions, to rebuild my life. I took his advice. I started going to the gym, working out my frustrations on the punching bag. I reconnected with old friends, going out for drinks, playing sports. I even started taking a photography class, something I had always wanted to do but never had the time for. Slowly but surely, I began to heal. The pain didn't disappear completely, but it became more manageable, less all-consuming. I started to see a future for myself, a future that didn't involve Elowen. One evening, a few months after the divorce was finalized, I received a phone call from an unknown number. I hesitated for a moment, then answered it. "Hello," I said. "Cillian." A woman's voice said, "It's Bront, Elowen's friend, the one who had posted the photo on Facebook." "What do you want?" I asked, my voice cold. "I wanted to apologize," she said. "I feel terrible about what happened. I knew about the affair and I didn't say anything. I should have told you." "Why are you telling me this now?" I asked. "Because I can't live with the guilt anymore," she said. "And because, well, things didn't exactly work out for Elowen and Reese." "What do you mean?" I asked, my curiosity piqued. "They're not together anymore," she said. "They broke up a few weeks ago. Apparently Reese was seeing someone else the whole time." I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. Karma, it seemed, had finally caught up with them. "Elowen's a mess," Bront continued. "She's lost her job, her friends, everything. She's all alone." I felt a pang of sympathy for Elowen, but it was fleeting. She had made her choices, and she had to live with the consequences. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said. "But it's not my problem anymore." "I know," Bront said. "I just thought you should know." I hung up the phone, feeling a sense of closure. The chapter of my life with Elowen was finally closed, and I was ready to move on. I continued to focus on myself, on my passions, on my future. I excelled in my photography class, even winning a local award for one of my photos. I started dating again, meeting new people, exploring new possibilities. One day I met a woman named Saoirse. She was kind, intelligent, and beautiful. We connected instantly and our relationship blossomed quickly. She was everything Elowen wasn't: honest, loyal, and supportive. With Saoirse, I felt like I could finally be myself, without fear of judgment or betrayal. I had learned from my past mistakes, and I was determined to build a future filled with love, trust, and happiness. One sunny afternoon, Saoirse and I were walking through a park in Denver holding hands when I saw a familiar figure sitting on a bench. It was Elowen. She looked older, tired, and alone. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. Saoirse squeezed my hand, offering me a reassuring smile. "It's okay," she said. "You don't have to talk to her if you don't want to." I took a deep breath and walked towards Elowen. "Hello, Elowen," I said, my voice calm. She looked up, her eyes widening in surprise. "Cillian," she said, her voice hoarse. "How are you?" I asked. "I'm okay," she said, avoiding my gaze. "I heard about what happened with Reese," I said. She nodded, her face flushing with shame. "It was a mistake," she said. "The biggest mistake of my life." "I know," I said, "but you can't change the past. All you can do is learn from it." I introduced Saoirse to Elowen, and the two women exchanged polite greetings. I'm happy for you, Cillian, Elowen said, her voice sincere. You deserve to be happy, thank you, I said. I hope you find happiness too, Elowen. We said our goodbyes, and Saoirse and I continued our walk through the park. As I walked away, I looked back at Elowen sitting alone on the bench. I felt a sense of peace, a sense of closure. I had forgiven her not for her sake but for my own. I had finally moved on, leaving the pain and betrayal behind me. I had learned a valuable lesson, that trust is a precious gift, and that betrayal can shatter even the strongest of bonds. But I had also learned that it is possible to heal, to forgive, and to find happiness again, even after the most devastating of betrayals. And as I walked hand in hand with Saoirse, I knew that my future was bright, filled with love, trust, and endless possibilities. To anyone reading this, remember that betrayal can feel like the end, but it doesn't have to be. Allow yourself to grieve, to heal, and to learn from the experience. Surround yourself with supportive people, focus on your passions, and never give up on the possibility of finding happiness again. You deserve it, and trust me, you will find it.